Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they've pledged you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Kermitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
Merry Christmas!
Jingle bells, jingle bells.
Jingle bell rock. Nailed it. This week we're celebrating Christmas because this is the last podcast that goes up before Christmas. And we celebrated Christmas this week by stepping outside of our chronological order just ever so slightly to watch Christmas Eve on Sesame Street and a special Sesame Street Christmas, which aired on December 3rd, 1978 and December 8th, 1978, respectively. And you can watch those online. They're both available. Christmas Eve on Sesame Street is actually on HBO Max if you want to watch it. But they cut out one small, pretty much insignificant part of the special. You can watch on HBO Max and not really miss anything we have talked about. But it's also on YouTube and is actually weirdly a slightly higher quality on the YouTube version than it is on the HBO Max version. So I don't understand how that happened. And then a special Sesame Street Christmas, you can only watch, as far as I could find, on archive.org.
They're trying to hide it from you. The man.
Yeah.
Doesn't want you to see Leslie Uggams and Oscar maybe being in love? I'm not really sure.
At least, that love is at least going in one direction. I'm not sure if it's being reciprocated or not.
Yeah.
And if you're going to go watch that on archive.org, I recommend downloading it because archive.org's video player is hot garbage.
Oh my God, it sucks so bad. I was trying to watch it on my freaking TV because it's a Christmas special and I wanted to have fun with my wife. Kind of glad I didn't because she would have not liked it.
That one was not, we'll get to that, but it's not the most enjoyable Christmas special to watch with somebody else. But before we get into discussing our very obvious opinions about these Christmas specials, I just wanted to, it's Christmas. I feel like we got to talk about Christmas a little bit, Sam. What are you doing for Christmas this year?
We're going to go to Butte, which is in the town in Montana that I come from, which is like an hour and a half from Missoula, which is the town in Montana that we live in. We usually split Rachel's from LA, so usually we'll go one place one year, one place the other year. Obviously, we didn't go last year, and this year Rachel was still feeling a little wiggy about it, so we get 3 Butte Christmases in a row, which, is fine. LA Christmas is fun, but weird, because it's not snowy there. But, hey, guess what? Not snowy here this year, so...
Nope, it's just rainy and
so
gloomy out.
LA, I suppose. Yeah, it's quite weird. But yeah, for Christmas, we always watch Muppet Christmas Carol, for one thing. That's kind of like one of my touchstone Muppet things, definitely. We drink, Irish creams. We open lots of presents because none of my brother and I don't have children, so my parents still treat us like giant babies, and it's great. How about you?
I relate a lot to the treated like giant babies thing because I am the youngest and my sisters are 14 and 17 years older than me.
You're a mega baby.
They all have children who also have children. So, my sisters are
they have children who have children?
Yes, my one sister at least is a grandmother.
Oh,
and so it's
okay.
Obviously, that side of the family is like a whole separate wing of Christmas celebration things that don't overlap. But to my mother, I'm still the baby.
For context, we are 34-year-old men.
We are 34-year-old men.
Whoops.
I mean, we're hosting a Muppet podcast, Sam. I don't think people are surprised by anything we're saying right now. But yeah, this year, we usually try to split up some Christmas celebrations too, whether that's going to see our parents individually or splitting some time between them. This year, we are actually flying our parents all out to Missoula.
That's fun.
Yeah, so Devin's parents and my parents are all coming out to hang out at our house for Christmas this year. Should be I don't know, it feels like a Christmas movie waiting to happen. So I'm sure there'll be some calamities to report back on. But yeah, we'll probably be watching, It's a Wonderful Life and that kind of stuff. We've already watched our Muppet Christmas Carol watch of the season, but we've still got Muppet Family Christmas coming up to watch, which is always a go-to watch for the year.
I watched half of the one with commercials, and then I was like, I can't watch this quite yet. I need to wait a little bit longer.
It feels like I really want to sit down and be cozy to watch that whole thing with all the commercials intact.
I had to go to bed. Rachel was telling me to go to bed, so I had to stop it. But do you want to talk about Armrod Gate?
Yeah, breaking news. If you go and watch Muppet Christmas Carol on Disney Plus this year, which I imagine a lot of you are going to be doing, there's already some controversy about the version of Muppet Christmas Carol that's out there and available in the world, because there's a song that is in a deleted scene from Muppet Christmas Carol that a lot of people wish would be restored and sort of inserted back into the movie. And to be fair, it's a very good song, and there's some moments in the movie...
I thought they did a version where they did that. Did they not?
I don't remember if they ever have, or if they've just aired it on TV sometimes with that scene included.
Yeah. Okay.
But there are moments in the movie that make a lot more sense if that scene is in there, like Rizzo breaking down and crying doesn't make a whole lot of sense in the version you will watch on Disney Plus. But if you watch the deleted scene, you're like, oh, that's why he's crying. But the other thing that's going around right now is that Disney, in some and maybe all of the scenes where you really notice arm rods, the things that control these puppets, and Disney in the Muppet Christmas Carol, they've gone in and digitally removed them because... I don't have a reason, and I don't know that they have a good one either.
It's just such a busy work kind of decision. Like, if I was like some effects company and Disney was like, hey, scrub out all these arm rods. First of all, me personally would be like, this feels disgusting. Second of all, I'd be like, why? They're like 1 pixel wide.
Yeah, it's, it's one of those things that's definitely, Disney does not like the arm rods. They want to hide them at all costs. They CGI'd them out of the ABC series and Muppets Now and a lot of the other more recent things that they've had creative control over. But as far as I know, this is the first time I've heard of them going back and removing rods from something they did not produce.
Yeah. And it feels like it's like almost hacky to say like, oh, Jim would be rolling over in his grave.
Right.
But I genuinely believe he would be. Like, hiding the puppeteer quality of it that much is so against everything that he would want.
Yeah, he had no problem, clearly, with appearing on talk shows and all these things with like himself and Kermit there at the same time. Nobody's being fooled into thinking that Kermit is alive and walking around on his own. Like, we are able to suspend our disbelief and go, okay, this is Kermit. That's Jim Henson, who is performing Kermit, but I can still enjoy Kermit. Nobody was ever like, hey, get that bearded weirdo out of here.
There are parts of the Muppet Show where you can see people's heads poke up.
Yeah, there's some Sesame Street episodes even, which I've been watching recently because we're gearing up for our Sesame Street episode, and there's ones where just you see Frank Oz's bald head just poking into frame. And it does not ruin the magic, especially the arm rods don't ruin the magic for me. And I'm very curious to see if they go back and start doing this to other Muppet productions, like the Muppet movie or like other Muppet products that are on Disney Plus. I've noticed in a lot of things recently, Disney just is forcing sounds more strict than it probably is. There seems to be a guideline that characters should keep their arm rods hidden and behind a table, and like Kermit was recently on the Michael Bublé special, and you could tell that he was sort of limited in his range of motion. There's some pretty good dancing, to be fair. If you go and watch that, there's a very, very good Kermit dancing in the Michael Bublé Christmas special that just aired. But there's other things that where they Muppets will make appearances and they're just keeping their hands very like calm and relaxed because their arm rods have to be hidden behind something. And it's just a bummer.
One of Kermit's things is that his arms go all over the place.
Yeah, it's not my favorite thing. I don't know if there's enough, people out there who care this much to get Disney to reverse course on any of this. But maybe if we're voicing our opinions, we'll keep them from doing it to other Muppet productions. It's
just so weird to like treat them like garbage, but at the same time, like be so strict with them. It's just it's like needlessly cruel.
Yeah, it's like we're not going to do anything with them. We're not going to take them out of their boxes to actually produce like a show or anything. But we are going to be very strict about the very weird things we care a lot about for some reason.
You know what? We could do a better job. Matt, me and you, we could just be the CEOs of Disney.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like a job that I want and wouldn't hate at all.
The first duo CEOs of Disney. I think we could do it.
The problem is, Sam, we're not just in charge of Muppets if we do that.
Oh, that's fine. You can take Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
I'll take Marvel.
And
I'll take Mickey Mouse.
We'll team up on the parks.
Yeah, we'll team up on the parks. You can have Disney Channel original series because you know a lot about those.
Yeah. I think we got this, Sam. I think we're gonna do a good job. We may lose a lot of money for the Disney company, but we'll be happy for at least like 6 months while we have the job.
Yeah, we'll make a nice golden parachute for ourselves as well.
I like that our pitches to Disney throughout the life of this podcast has been, please hire us to work with the Muppets. Please hire us to write a show that was 6 years old and is canceled. And then now it's make us CEO of your company.
You got to shoot your shot.
But this is like we took a free throw and missed. Then we go back to the 3-point line and we still missed. And now we're trying a full court shot being like, well, let's see.
And we submitted ourselves for MVP, if that's how MVP works. I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
We got a lot of spunk.
No experience, all spunk. But let's go ahead and talk about these Christmas specials, Sam. So tell the people what we watched this week.
I'm going to do this in not chronological to real life order. I'm going to do it in what I perceive to be chronological to the events that happen on Sesame Street, this particular Christmas order.
Okay.
That'll make more sense in a second.
I hope so.
It's Christmas time on Sesame Street in 1978, and there's a whole lot of shit going on. First of all, in a special Sesame Street Christmas, Leslie Uggams is hanging around, and she seems to have taken a special interest in Oscar, which we'll talk more about later. Observing his grouchiness, especially when it comes to the holidays, she resolves to fix him and concocts a scheme with the humans of Sesame Street to pull a Christmas carol on his ass. Leslie constructs a set of elaborate costumes and skits and dupes her friends Anne Murray, Imogene Coca, and Dickie Smothers into playing the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future, respectively. It is ultimately unclear to me whether Oscar believes any of this stuff is actually happening to him when the ghosts come out and talk to him, but he does seem to get the point, though he could be feeling particularly sentimental due to the presence of a rescue kitten with a broken leg named Tiny Tim, who Oscar develops a fondness for, admitting as much in a private moment upon which Leslie is eavesdropping. Recognizing that as big a victory as she's probably going to get, Leslie leads the gang in a big closing medley of carols featuring a very boisterous Ethel Merman. Then, in Christmas Eve on Sesame Street, it's Christmas Eve. It seems to be the same year to me, and it seems as though Oscar's new-found Christmas spirit has already dried up as he challenges Big Bird to tell him how Santa gets into everyone's houses each year. Big Bird fails to do so, leading Oscar to wonder aloud if anyone is going to get presents this year. This sets Big Bird into a tizzy, so he, Kermit, and human child Patty set out to poll the street on Santa to see if they can figure it out. Meanwhile, Bert and Ernie have really put off getting gifts for each other. It is Christmas Eve, but they both know what they want to get one another. So Ernie wants to get Bert a cigar box to hold his paperclip collection. Bert wants to get Ernie a soap dish for his rubber ducky, but they both also seem to have absolutely no money because Ernie has to trade Mr. Hooper his ducky for the cigar box, and Bert has to trade his paperclips for the soap dish. To be continued. Meanwhile, Big Bird, Kermit, and Patty have struck out royally, as everybody on Sesame Street has a child's brain and no good answer to how Santa gets in their houses. So Big Bird sits cold, alone, and miserable in his nest, fearing a presentless Christmas morning until he has an idea. He'll camp out on the roof of 123 Sesame Street and catch Santa in the act. Unfortunately, he doesn't tell anybody his plan, so when Patty comes looking for him and he's gone, she alerts the grown-ups who form a search party. Inside 123 Sesame Street, Bert and Ernie exchange their gifts, discover that they both made the ultimate sacrifice for each other's happiness, and then are visited by the spirit of giving and generosity in the form of Mr. Hooper, who gives them both the items that they bartered back to them, so they're happy. So since this is the 70s, it was still cold on Christmas, so Big Bird's big ass is up on the roof, looking like Jack Torrance in the hedge maze at the end of The Shining. He is basically freezing to death on death's door, still has no Santa sighting. On the streets below, everyone's freaking out that Big Bird is probably somewhere freezing to death, which is accurate because he is. Big Bird, however, his self-preservation instincts kick in, and he decides that he should go down to Gordon and Susan's apartment to warm up, which he does. He's surprised when he gets there that everybody was worried about him, but he's more surprised to see that somehow Gordon's apartment is filled with presents for everybody, allegedly left by Santa. So everybody's happy. Big Bird isn't dead. Maria beats up Oscar until he apologizes to Big Bird. The end. Also, December 1978 was not that exciting. Just wait until December 1979. That was a fucking crazy year, apparently. However, I looked that one up on accident first, and then I was like, oh, shit. So then I had to go back. All that happened was John Wayne Gacy was arrested, which my stupid ass thought happened in the 50s. I thought that was a 50s situation.
I thought that was a 90s situation.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird.
And I literally just watched a documentary about him not that long ago. So
Well,
there's
did
my
you notice
retention.
he wasn't listening to any grunge and connect the dots that it wasn't the 90s?
I didn't pay that close of attention to his musical tastes. And I alluded to it earlier that we are stepping outside of our own chronological order a little bit. And that's because we're supposed to be in like September 1978 right now in our watch through of things. So we just jumped ahead a little bit so we could have a little Christmas special.
And you may have noticed there's 2 Christmas specials this year for Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, it seems like somebody thought to do another one and was like, maybe one of those will stick.
Like the new entertainment president or something of Sesame Street. Is that what it was?
Yeah, the Book Street Gang, I'm going to quote from Muppet Wiki here so I don't mess anything up, says that Paul Furstenberg was CTW's executive vice president in 1978 when Christmas Eve on Sesame Street was produced. And this is, again, the editorializing of Street Gang, says one of his most baffling decisions, which included selling off interest in cable television that would later be valued in the hundreds of millions of dollars, was to sign a deal that same year for a special Sesame Street Christmas with independent television producer Bob Banner. And Bob Banner had roots in variety television that went back to Gary Moore and Diana Shore.
Sounds like the Incredible Hulk's brother, right?
Yeah, the Incredible Hulk's brother who also worked on the Jimmy Dean show. So he had some connection in working with the Muppets previously and with Jim Henson.
Yeah.
But CBS bought the idea, even though there was already one in the works for PBS. They apparently knew this. And when the executive producer questioned the wisdom of the competing specials, Furstenberg said, if we proceed with 2 shows, maybe one will make it to air.
Such a strange thought.
Yeah.
It's freaking Sesame Street. And also, ones on PBS, I feel like they pretty much have to do whatever Sesame Street says.
Well, and we'll get more into this, but the difference between these is striking. Like how different these specials feel. But I think out the gate, the number one biggest difference between these is that in Christmas Eve on Sesame Street, this is the one that was made for PBS, you have almost everyone you can imagine from a Sesame Street episode appearing
the gang's all
in
there.
this. Whereas in a special Sesame Street Christmas, there's no Gordon, there's no Susan, and there's no Muppets other than those performed by Carol Spinney. We only see Big Bird, Oscar, and Barkley, to be fair. But there's no Bert and Ernie, no Grover, no Cookie Monster. None of them show up for the other special Sesame Street Christmas. And that's, I believe, Muppet Wiki speculates that it's because Jim Henson and Frank Oz were busy doing stuff for the other Christmas special.
Yeah. Maybe they just also wouldn't do it.
I mean, yeah, it's like these guys are very busy. You're asking them to do 2 Christmas specials in 1 year.
I'm a little surprised they never did a Muppet Show Christmas special while the Muppet Show is actually on the air.
Yeah, maybe it's just because they do things so out of order and these things air so randomly in different parts of the country and the world.
Yeah.
Maybe they couldn't nail
They
down.
could have done like a prime time thing on CBS or something like that. But anyway.
Do you want to talk about these in chronological order or your little makeshift chronological order that you invented?
Yeah, my canon timeline. Let's talk about them in regular order because I think the first one, the Christmas Eve on Sesame Street one, will be easier to talk about quickly because it was good.
Yeah, a lot of my notes about Christmas Eve on Sesame Street are just quotes because there's a lot of very good, charming lines throughout.
It's funny.
And there's also, it's delightful. It's like overall just a delightful special to put on and watch, and it feels like an episode of Sesame Street at its best. But It does open very oddly.
Oh, yeah. The opening was giving me a bad feeling about the whole thing.
We get about 7 to 8 minutes of ice skating at the beginning of this 48, 50-minute special. And I don't know if they needed to pad out the time. Maybe they didn't have enough to fill a full hour of television or what it is, because after that ice skating thing, everything is off to the races and the whole plot kicks in. But this opening is featuring some full-body Sesame Street Muppets, like the Count and Bert and Ernie and Cookie Monster in their full walk-around costume form that they would use for Sesame Street on Ice performances.
Yeah.
And it's intercut with the Sesame Street Humans and Big Bird ice skating, but we never see them in the same shot together because I guess they don't want...
yeah, that's a good thing.
They don't want Susan and Gordon next to giant Bert.
Yeah. Yeah, the walk-around versions of these characters in this format do not work at all, especially Count, who looks like a nightmare because he has giant wings.
He has giant wings, and also, if we're going to rank them, the most human of heads out of Bert, Ernie, Cookie Monster, and him.
Yeah.
So he kind of just looks like a normal man who is purple, skating around with monsters. But it's very odd, and again, I think it must have just been in there to pad some time, or they were like, hey, we have this Sesame Street on Ice thing that we want to show off to maybe sell some more tickets. I'm not really sure. And it's not fun, but it's very strange, and especially when you hear Frank Oz and Jim Henson's voices coming out of these people that they're clearly not inside of.
And the faces don't move when they're talking.
Right.
It's just static faces. Like a Popeye cartoon, just with voices coming out of an unmoving mouth.
It also forces the characters to be a little bit more adult, or at least a little bit more grown up than they would normally act.
And really good at ice skating. Barrel jumps. Yeah.
Yeah, they take some time to jump some barrels, except the Count, who just chooses to count the barrels instead. And the Cookie Monster, who chooses to eat and smash up the barrels.
Destroys them, yes.
And in the middle of this is the thing that HBO Max cuts out. And it's not bad by any means, but it slows the special to a halt, where Big Bird is ice skating with a little girl, and you start to hear a really slow version of Feliz Navidad coming on in the background, and then it kicks into a more up-tempo Feliz Navidad, and they just keep skating, and there's no jokes, there's nothing really happening. It just is an extended Feliz Navidad section that is cut out of HBO Max, and so, again, you won't miss it if you watch that version.
Well, okay, so I think that part was cute. I think if it had been much shorter, if the ice skating part in general had been much shorter, and you have the humans and Big Bird ice skating, and the other Muppets can be there, like Fozzie on his roller skates, they could be like, whoa, whoa. But Big Bird's scared the whole time to ice skate. Then that section ends with that little girl coming and helping him be brave enough to go out and ice skate. That would have been cute. I liked that part. I thought that part was nice. I like seeing Big Bird skate around.
Oh yeah, I don't dislike that section. I just feel like when you've watched the rest of the special and you see what the plot is and sort of where it's going, it is strange that they take a few minutes to do that at the beginning.
Yeah, but one good part of, so two good parts. One thing that happens ice skating is that Oscar fucking dies.
Yeah, somehow, even though they throw Oscar down 4 flights of stairs and through multiple walls.
2 walls.
He's still treated worse in the other special that we'll get to than this.
Yeah.
This is nothing compared to the way Oscar is treated in the other special. But he does just pretty much look like he's dying, and the way he is thrown, actually, is Cookie Monster decides they're going to play Snap the Whip, which is where they get in a line and they skate in a big circle, and they grab Oscar, who just kind of seemed to be walking by, and they grab him.
He's a can with legs, he's in his can with legs form at the time.
Yeah, and they just completely launch him through the air and downstairs and through walls, and this goes on for so long that I was a little worried about him until he pops out at the end and wants to do it again.
Yeah, he loves it.
But that is when the whole plot kicks in. when Oscar starts telling Big Bird that if they can't figure out how Santa fits down a chimney, kids ain't gonna get no presents on Sesame Street.
Yeah. Oh, this was the second good thing that comes out of them ice skating at the beginning. I freaking loved when they were on the subway. I thought that was so cute when they were like walking down the subway platform and like going through the turnstiles, and all of a sudden all the Muppets have their cute little ice skating costumes on that they don't when they're in full body form, which irritated me deeply because they look very cute.
Yeah, the Count has a top hat and a hockey stick.
He looks great. Yeah, and then they're like on the subway train with all the humans, and that part's just so cute. But that's when Oscar is speculating about the existence of Santa and his abilities.
I was going to say, he doesn't go as far as saying Santa doesn't necessarily exist.
No,
He
I guess
just
you can't
says that
really
there's
do that in a
no
Sesame
way
Street special.
that this guy who, quote, is built like a dump truck can fit down those chimneys.
I wrote that down too. Yeah. There's some rudeness directed towards Santa in this for sure.
Oh, yeah. At one point, Kermit just calls him Big Fat Santa Claus.
Yeah. How does Big Fat Santa Claus get down that chimney?
Yeah, as Oscar said, it's like trying to get a basketball into a ginger ale bottle.
Some really evocative language used to
Yeah.
describe Santa squeezing down.
And speaking of the subway, there's a point at which Oscar is trying to berate Big Bird and call him a bunch of names that we do not get to hear, but he is attempting to call him stupid. And he's like, "You are the stupidest bird I've ever..." And when that happens, the train goes by. So I guess we're supposed to believe that he is like cussing him out.
Cussing out Big Bird. Yeah, big time. For a long time.
There's a couple weirdly adult moments throughout both of these specials that it just feels very odd.
Yeah, I really liked this one, Christmas Eve on Sesame Street, because it did feel like it's like that kind of Sesame Street I like when they do interviews and stuff like that, and they can be a little bit more blue, and it's when they're like a 40-year-old pretending to be a 6-year-old kind of thing. That's the humor of Sesame Street that I really like. But this one had a lot more of the like sincerity mixed into it. You don't learn anything, I don't think. There's
nope.
there's no counting or anything.
I don't think there's
like that,
anything
really.
to learn in this.
No.
Yeah, no. Trying to think if there's any
Except-
educational lessons to pull out of this.
Don't sit on the roof of your apartment building in December, I suppose.
Yeah, you will freeze to death if you don't have your electric blanket that Big Bird apparently has in his nest.
Yeah, me and Rachel were like, how is he living regularly? I'm glad that they laid that out for us.
Yeah, they make it clear that the roof is different from his nest. Then we find out that Kermit is here on Sesame Street. He wasn't apparently invited to the skating party for some reason, but he is here.
He's a busy guy. My speculation now, Muppet Show takes place in New York. This is the same Kermit. He lives on Sesame Street.
Oh.
So he goes home and sees all his Sesame Street friends. And he's like, hey, what's up? Then he goes to work and is a huge asshole to all of his Muppet Show friends. Because I think Sesame Street's on Manhattan, if I'm not mistaken. It's in the Bronx, I think. Is that on Manhattan?
No, those are two different places.
I looked up the subway stop that they got off
86th
on.
Street?
Yeah, and I think that's on Manhattan. Oh, it's right above Manhattan. Sorry if you live in New York. I don't know shit.
Yeah, we don't know anything about New York. I have literally never been to your city or state.
It's up to the north, I believe, of Manhattan. But I gotta believe the Muppet Show is somewhere in a forgotten off-Broadway area of some sort on Manhattan.
Yeah, East 86th Street, in 86th Street is where the stop they get off when they are going back to Sesame Street is near like Central Park in Manhattan, which doesn't feel right.
Okay.
That does not feel like where I would imagine Sesame Street is. But then this is when Kermit sort of helps figure out how to determine how Santa fits down a chimney.
This is Kermit in dumb guy mode, though.
Yes, he's only slightly helpful in that he has an idea that he expects other people to run with and go actually do.
Sure.
And his idea is to ask kids. They know the most about Santa Claus. But it turns out that's completely false because we see a lot of examples of that not being true. And also, Patty, who is the main child in this special, immediately says, well, I'm a kid and I don't know.
Yeah. Patty's the only one with half a brain in this operation.
No parents, but half a brain.
Yeah. But yeah, like you alluded to, there are multiple cutaways of Sesame Street Muppet interviews with children in the classic style, where they're asking them about Santa. None of the kids have anything that compelling to say, really.
I mean, I liked some of their answers a lot, and we get to see Frank
Yeah.
Oz in top form, being
That was-
Grover. Then we get a nice little moment without any Muppets with Bob and Linda, who are getting ready to rehearse a song or hang out. I'm not really sure. I think they're romantically
getting ready to
linked.
hang out, and she shows up too early, which seems to annoy Bob slightly.
He does seem. He's like, yeah, you can, I guess, hang out and read a magazine.
Read a magazine or something, yeah.
Do what you want. I have a thing to do, Linda. Jeez, back
Yeah.
up.
But then she's also like, I'm in a room full of children who know sign language, so I think I'll participate, Bob.
Well, it's a nice little surprise that Linda has taught the children ASL, or at least enough ASL, to sing along to the song that Bob wants to rehearse with them. So he's there to sing with the kids, does not realize they have learned the sign language for the
Oh,
song.
I didn't pick up on that. That was a
yeah.
surprise for Bob.
Yeah, didn't you
Okay.
see his very like heart-warmed face where he's like, oh, you guys, you're signing.
That dude's kind of always doing that.
That's true.
so-
Bob kind of has that energy about him. But that's the way I read it, is that because the Linda and the kids are practicing, and then when Bob comes in, they like stop really quickly.
Oh, okay.
So it seems like they
There's
were setting
lot
up
of
a
subtlety
surprise.
there. Sure. I wasn't picking up on that. Bob needs to paint his apartment, though. That's for damn sure.
'Cause
Very tan.
It's very tan, and it's kind of like a dirty tan.
Yeah.
But I'm sure we don't
His
see Bob's
bookshelf
apartment
situation.
that often on Sesame Street,
guess.
so it's probably a one-time set.
But that is a really, I really enjoyed that part. I like Bob quite a bit.
Yeah, Bob's real good, especially like throughout this special. He has a lot of good moments.
He's got the Christmas spirit about him, I would say.
Yeah, and he's the only one who wishes Mr. Hooper a happy Hanukkah.
Yeah, with a big old wink.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird tone and energy he's giving off. He's like,
Yeah.
by the way, Mr. Hooper, happy
Happy
Hanukkah.
Hanukkah.
Yeah.
Wink.
Did I say that right, Mr. Hooper? Which I did look up because I know Hanukkah shifts around our calendar and doesn't always align with Christmas. And so I was like, is Bob just like super late in wishing Mr. Hooper happy Hanukkah, or super early? Turns out 1978, Christmas Eve was the start of Hanukkah. So
Oh, good.
he's exactly
Okay.
on time. Good job, Bob.
I bet you did more research into that than the people writing the special, but who knows?
I mean, there's people who like work on this special who were probably like, "Hey, we're gonna include a Hanukkah thing," and they're like, "Oh, that's perfect. It works." It starts
Yeah, I
on
guess that's
like
true.
they didn't have to do research; they knew what year it was.
Well, yeah, okay, fair enough.
Then we transition to the Gift of the Magi scene, where this is an actual selfless Gift of the Magi, unlike Emmett Otter.
I was thinking the same thing the whole time. It's like, what a juxtaposition between Ma and Emmett.
Yeah, this special really drives home that Bert and Ernie are just the best friends. Aside from
They
the
really
fact that they wait until
so
Christmas
cute.
Eve to buy gifts for each other.
That's not great. But,
no.
you know, sometimes you wait too long to get your partner a gift because you're trying to think of the perfect thing.
But they clearly love each other so much and are willing to give
Yeah.
up their most beloved thing just to give the other person the empty cigar box and a soap dish.
Bert does sit on. So at the beginning of this, Bert's in the tub for a change.
Yeah.
And he does sit on Ernie's rubber duck with his bare ass, which to me was kind of like, ugh. Even if I sat on my something of my wife's with my bare ass, that wouldn't be the best. I'd feel a little bad about that. And annoyed, which is, I guess, why he wants him to get a soap dish. So.
Yeah, it's not just to help Ernie; it's also to keep it out of his ass.
Yeah. And there's also another the part I laughed the hardest at. Ernie's trying to figure out what to get Bert, and he finds a stray paperclip, and he's like, "Oh, this is one of Bert's favorite paperclips. I know. I'll get him a cigar box so he'll never lose it again." And then he just wings it over his shoulder.
He just tosses it. Even after, in that moment, he's like, "It's his 1957 Acme paperclip," and he does just completely toss it at the end.
Yep, that was so funny.
The moments I laugh the hardest at is this next segment we have. It's Cookie Monster.
Oh
who
man,
is-
he was so good in this too.
throughout this special, not doing a lot of interaction with anybody else until
Yeah.
near the end. But throughout it, he is trying to write a letter to Santa or communicate with Santa in some way so that he can tell Santa he wants cookies, unsurprisingly. In the first of these Cookie Monster asides, we get Cookie Monster writing a letter with a pencil, and he gets too hungry and he devours the pencil. The second one, he's using a typewriter and gets real hungry and starts to eat the typewriter in a very coffee break machine sketch kind of way where he is just busting this thing up and eating all the mechanics inside. And then lastly, we see Cookie Monster on the phone trying to call the North Pole and get a hold of Santa, which he successfully does. We hear the jingle bells and we hear Santa ho-ho-hoing as he's maybe flying through the sky right now.
Uh-huh.
But Cookie Monster thought the phone looked a little bit too much like cupcakes, and so
two cuppy cakes.
Yeah.
Eats the phone.
He already swallowed it. It's in his belly when Santa starts talking to him. There's a very, very sweet moment where he like takes the phone cord up to his ear, and he's like, "Hello, does this work?" And so, yeah, again, just Cookie Monster in this whole special is fantastic.
One of my all-time favorite Christmas songs apparently comes from this special, or maybe like a record that predates the special or something like that. But Oscar sings "I Hate Christmas," and another part that I laughed the very hardest at happened here. When he gives the child a present, and the child opens the present, and it's filled with goo, black goo.
It just seems like
that
oil.
Just pours all over the child's hands. Yeah.
And yeah, that song was initially released on the Merry Christmas from Sesame Street album in 1975, and then it was redone a few years later for the special.
But that's like an all-timer of a Christmas song, in my opinion.
Which is, again, we're going to get to there, but the other special is so bad at featuring Christmas songs.
Has so many more songs than this one does.
But almost
none of them are Christmas songs.
Yeah. But this one has some great ones, like I Hate Christmas, and the other one, which is called Keep Christmas With You.
That's when Bob's singing upstairs, is that right?
I think he's singing it, but then they also sing it at the very end, and you get like the lyrics on screen where you can sing along at home. A couple things I noticed while watching this special. One, turns out watching Rubber Ducky segments when you have a dog who likes squeak toys can be difficult because she will get very excited and run up to the TV and be like, "Hey, where's my toy?"
Hey, pass that over here, Ernie.
Yeah.
Come on.
So the second time Rubber Ducky appears, I had to mute it so that she wouldn't lunge at the television. But the other one is sort of a no-brainer, obviously, but it's something we talk about a lot when we talk about The Muppet Show, is the way humans interact with Muppets and how the best guests on The Muppet Show are the ones who fully believe in Muppets and treat them like just another person walking around. And Sesame Street is the all-time like king of this because nobody on Sesame Street is treating any of these characters like anything less than a neighbor who lives next door. Like in one of these, I don't remember if it's this one or the other one, they mentioned like going to Grover's apartment, and I'm like,
oh, they do? What?
That feels weird. I don't like I obviously know Grover has to live somewhere, but the idea of like going to see what Grover's doing at his apartment, just hanging out, I hadn't ever thought about that.
It's probably so messy.
I picture it being really gross and messy too.
Yeah, he does have a lot of jobs, I guess. So he's an adult, basically,
and a secret superhero.
Wow. We put a lot of trust in Grover. I guess he can take care of himself.
He's just living a real sad life, like Peter Parker in Spider-Man 2, where he's like not paying his bills, he's losing his friends and all this stuff.
Yeah, he's got to keep all his closest friends away from him so they don't find his secret out. That he's Super Grover, which is a pretty bad alias for a superhero.
Yeah, it'd be like, oh yeah, Sam, I'm definitely not Super Matt. Don't worry.
I guess I have no choice but to take your word for it.
Or maybe it's even worse than that because we only know him full name, Grover. So it'd be like if I was Super Matthew Gatos secretly.
That's true.
Yeah, Super Big Bird. I wonder who that could be.
I guess in a universe where everybody's moms are identical to them except in wigs, maybe it's a little more believable that there would be an identical person with a different hat on that wasn't you.
That's true. You could just be like, oh yeah, it's my distant cousin.
Yeah, there's a whole race of Matts with different hair and hats, and that's just how the world works.
Just like Grouches.
Also, I like how much disdain everybody seems to have for Oscar. That isn't just like cute disdain. It's like Maria like pulls his hair up out of the trash can and like roughs him up when she's mad at him for making Big Bird run away.
Yeah, there's a couple moments in this special that I feel like, I don't know if they would happen during the daytime version of Sesame Street that aired during the day. Like this one aired at like 7 p.m. on PBS as like a nighttime special. Mm-hmm. And that was one of them where they're like roughing up Oscar. And then the other one is the when Oscar is like cussing out Big Bird. And then the other one is we see David and I'm going to mix up like human names with character names here.
Maria
and David are like smooching on the train a little bit.
They're smooching on the train. I thought that was cute.
Yeah, it's a very cute moment, but it felt like weirdly not Sesame Street-y.
Where's Luis? He's not there yet.
Luis is not there yet.
Because they get married eventually, don't they?
Yes, Luis and
What happens
Maria.
to David?
It's a really sad story, actually. The actor who plays David, Northern Calloway, has sort of like a tragic backstory that I don't remember all of, so I don't want to necessarily like try and speculate or remember it here. But I know they talk a lot about it in Street Gang, so if you go read that book, you can learn more about Northern Calloway and his life. But it is not a very happy tale. I know there's things in Street Gang about how he had a lot of health problems and mental health, like schizophrenia type issues.
Yeah.
And he was very, very reliant on drugs and stuff. And so there was, in later seasons, he had a lot of trouble remembering lines and wasn't showing up to set and stuff. So reading Street Gang, I was like, oh, this is interesting. I never knew about this. But it is definitely very sad. I also had the realization of watching this. Sad Big Bird is just the saddest Muppet, I think. Like watching Big Bird almost freeze to death and be sad is just, it's a hard watch.
He's actually a little less sad when he's up on the roof. He's like taking decisive action up there, and he's kind of like got a purity of intention. When he's down in his nest though, and what's her name? Patty is like, bye, see you, Big Bird, and he's just ignoring her. That was the very saddest part.
She's like, bye, Big Bird, and he says nothing, and then she's like, Merry Christmas.
Nothing. Freezes her out.
And then she shows up at Gordon's door, seeming completely distraught, and is like, Big Bird's gone. And I'm just like, oh, gee, like, this is really sad and like traumatizing for Patty. Who
they had to, this kid had a heavy lift.
They mentioned she has parents, but we don't know where they are, and we don't really know what they're up to, other than at one point Gordon's like, we should probably call your parents. And it's like, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it's possibly like 1 o'clock in the morning on Christmas Eve. I don't know.
Yeah. I do like, we get to see a little moment with Cookie Monster and Gordon hanging out, where Gordon is hanging stockings, and he has a Big Bird stocking that is shaped like Big Bird's foot.
Giant Big Bird foot. Yeah.
And Cookie Monster is telling Gordon the tale of how he destroyed the typewriter and the phone and all that stuff because he couldn't get through to Santa. And Gordon's like, Cookie Monster, Santa knows you. He knows what you're all about. He's going to bring you cookies. Don't you worry.
It's right there in the name, buddy.
Yeah. And thankfully, Big Bird does come down, as you mentioned in your summary, to save his own life, and comes down to warm up a little bit. He does say, "I think I froze my giblets."
He I think confirms that his giblets are indeed frozen.
Yeah, he says it once, like by himself, and then when he goes downstairs, somebody says something about like come in and warm up or something. And they're like, you look frozen. And he said something about like, yeah, even my giblets are frozen. And it's like, okay, that's more than we need to know right now, Big Bird.
Stop mentioning your giblets, Big Bird.
Yeah. Did you hear me? My giblets are frozen.
Yeah.
And yeah, then the special sort of just wraps up. It's sort of, Christmas miracle is the answer to how Santa gets into these houses, because we sort of like see the silhouette of Santa sneaking in, but we don't necessarily.
Oh, I forgot. That was kind of creepy.
Yeah, like Big Bird's. It does go on way too long. Big Bird is sort of fallen asleep as he's freezing to death on the roof, and we hear Santa approaching, and we see his silhouette as he is going to go deliver presents, and we don't see how he gets down the chimney at all. We just know he does. So I think it's
all the stuff's down there.
It's sort of the opening song of this special after the ice skating is all about miracles and believing in miracles, and so I think they're just setting the ground for like, yeah, that's the answer. 1, it doesn't matter, and 2, miracle. Shut up.
And it's your freaking parents, so don't ask too many questions, kid.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, sorry if you still believe in Santa and you listen to this podcast. We're swearing, though, so you shouldn't be listening to this podcast if you still believe in Santa, no matter your age, I would say.
And the special wraps up after the nice, sweet moments. We get the reveal of Gordon and Susan coming back to their apartment and finding that Cookie Monster has eaten their entire Christmas tree.
Yeah, which is a little frightening. He hasn't eaten their entire Christmas tree. He's just sucked all the needles and ornaments off of it, basically, leaving a skeleton of a Christmas tree.
Yes, and his line is, Scotch pine delicious, but Douglas fir give me heartburn.
Yeah.
So this is not the first Christmas tree he has consumed this evening. Apparently he's going from apartment to apartment, eating everyone's trees.
Yeah. He's crossed the line into menace, and they need to take some action against Cookie Monster now, I would say. He's destroying property.
And then, over the credits, we just get to hear Cookie Monster burping and feeling terrible about his choices. Even at one point, burping for a few seconds and then going like, "Oh, that was a long one." Which is one of the other things that is cut out on the HBO Max version, unfortunately.
Is it just too gross? Why did they do that?
No, because on screen at that point, it's talking about the funding of like PBS funding and who's contributed in all these companies and stuff. So they cut that out because obviously those people aren't funding HBO Max's version, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't get to hear the fun Cookie Monster burps if you watch it on HBO Max.
And I assume they cut Feliz Navidad because they play the actual Feliz Navidad, not any of the Muppets singing it, and they probably just didn't feel like getting the rights to it or something.
Yeah, I feel like this is maybe a thing they just didn't want to spend a lot of money on.
Anyway, I loved this. This was great.
Yes, this one was...
I'll probably watch again.
I see people regularly posting GIFs from this or quotes and videos from this thing, and now I completely understand why, because it is just delightful throughout. There are a lot of really cute moments that I think are worth revisiting, and if you...
The I Hate Christmas part is so good with... it's like Oscar bopping around the neighborhood, pulling horrible pranks and like dumping snow on people's heads and giving children presents filled with goo. And that, like, if you're going to watch any of it, I'd say maybe watch that little clip, but also watch the whole thing.
Well, that means it's time, Sam, to talk about the other one.
Sure.
I think that's what it should be called. The other Sesame Street Christmas special. But no, it somehow has maybe an even worse name, which is just A Special Sesame Street Christmas.
Yeah.
They, I don't know if you caught this, they mention Butte in this special at one point.
I sure did. I wrote it down. Because Big Bird, so it starts off, it doesn't start off that bad. And at first I was kind of like, one of these is supposed to be bad and one of these is supposed to be good. Because that's just probably like Tough Pigs or something like that. Mentioned that at some point. And it's just stuck with me ever since, that one of them sucks and one of them is good. And at first I was like, am I supposed to have thought that the other one sucked? Because this is kind of interesting. Leslie Uggams is in town. Everyone's very excited. And they send Big Bird off to get her a gift, which is not a good choice. So I thought he'd come back with like bird food or something, you know, like bird seed.
Yeah, same.
Comes back with like a perfectly normal hat, not goofy at all. But they all make him feel like shit because she puts the hat on and it's like, okay.
Yeah, I didn't understand what it was, and then Bob's like, "Hat, you look so dumb."
Sucks. Yeah. And they make Big Bird feel horrible. But then that's when they sing the song about all the different horrible Christmas gifts that Leslie Uggam has gotten. One of them coming from her cousin in Butte or something like that.
Yeah.
Hey, which is where I'm from, like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, this, I think the overall, feeling of this special is just like nasty. Like everyone's kind of mean to each other, or they're very like, they're teasing. They want Oscar to not be a grouch. And it's like, you guys know him. You know that's his thing.
Just leave him alone.
You can be, like we saw in the last special, you can disagree with Oscar. You can be mad at Oscar. But this whole special is trying to change Oscar at a fundamental level.
Scare him straight, basically.
Yeah. And you can tell that the special is produced in a different way than a normal Sesame Street special because there's a lot of weird camera angles from like above Sesame Street where it's almost like revealing the studio itself. And also, there's a weird list of celebrities in this who only pop in for like 5 seconds, some of them. But we have Leslie Uggams. We mentioned some of these other ones, but there's Dickie Smothers from the Smothers Brothers, because apparently they can only get one Smothered brother. Anne Murray, Ethel Merman, Michael Jackson, Henry Fonda.
Who doesn't sing anything.
Nope.
Some of them sing. He doesn't sing. Probably for the same reason that he was supposed to pretend like he didn't sing in The Simpsons, which I think he actually did sing.
I don't think we'll ever know the truth about whether or not Michael Jackson sang on The Simpsons or not. But
the rumor about The Simpsons episode is that he contractually was not allowed to sing anywhere else except for his record company. So they got an impersonator to sing his Lisa, It's Your Birthday part of that episode. But it sounds just like him. But he doesn't sing in this probably for the same reason.
There's some like producers or studio people who have been like, oh no, he totally sang on that. And so it's like, I don't know who to believe and I don't really care that much. But this felt like the same thing to me where I'm like, you have like maybe your most famous person at the time who's a guest on this shows up for 2 seconds and doesn't sing a single note.
In a completely inconsequential scene.
Oh, absolutely. And we also have maybe more inconsequential, Henry Fonda. Shows up.
Yeah, that was so weird. Just on a balcony, like, complaining about a toy.
Yeah. Imogene Coca, who is a person I do not know, but the name something that it was just in my brain the moment they said it. I'm like, I know that name.
They probably said it on The Simpsons.
That
She was
probably.
a comedy partner of Sid Caesar. So just like an old-timey television
It does sound like
person.
something Krusty the Clown would say, like, Imagine
Yeah.
Coca!
Yeah. I just remembered another secret Michael Jackson thing was that he secretly wrote the music for Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Remember that?
I do not
And he-
remember that. Not
he
the
also had to
upcoming
pretend-
feature film.
No, the game. And they pretended for decades that he didn't do that. And then like a couple of years ago, they finally proved that he did write all the music for that.
Wild.
So
What
yeah.
I'm not breaking new ground here. What a weird dude.
What a deeply complicated, troubling, strange man.
Yeah. We're not going to talk about him too much here for obvious reasons,
No.
but
This was also very right before he hit it extremely big.
yeah, this was still like Jackson 5 era
Yeah.
Michael Jackson and not quite solo star Michael Jackson.
But yeah, who else was in it? Oh, Ethel Merman, of course, our Muppet Show friend Ethel Merman.
Who feels the most like she got to show up and just do whatever the hell she wanted.
Yeah,
Because
she's really funny in this.
like the first thing she says is she walks in and sees Imogene Coca dressed as the ghost of Christmas Present. And she's like, Imogene, what are you wearing? You look like an idiot.
Yeah. Yeah, she kicked ass in this, and at the end when they're singing the medley of Christmas carols, she's basically the only person that you can hear singing.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Because she's singing so loud.
She is the loudest human. But yeah, going back to the beginning of this, we'll talk more about him later because he's our Muppet of the Week this week. But Barkley shows up as one of the highlights of this very not highlighty special. And Barkley's there to help them clear the street of snow, which he just kicks like dogs kick. I guess they don't own a shovel, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, they know lots of very giant creatures, so I guess that works just as well.
But yeah, Oscar is, while he is terrible to the humans throughout the special by, he both gives them ice cold lemonade instead of hot cocoa.
I thought that was pretty funny.
It's
too.
funny. And they act so like repulsed by it.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, yeah, you don't want ice cold lemonade on like Christmas Day, but it's not,
But you should have looked in your mug before you drank it,
Yeah.
first of all.
you know what hot cocoa looks like, and it's not that.
Yeah.
Also, regardless, it came out of a dumpster. So,
Yeah.
but this special is just a lot less joyful. Like, I don't know what the point of it is. Like, the last one, we had the clear plot line of trying to figure out how Santa gets into the houses. There's no real solid plot in this one. Like, even the whole Christmas Carol thing with Oscar, kind of, like, the humans even seem like they lose commitment to the bit halfway through.
Yeah.
Because we start off with the Anne Murray scene where they're dressing Anne Murray up with whatever they can find to make her the ghost of Christmas past and scare Oscar into this. And then
And you see her come into Hooper's store, and they're like, hey, we're doing this thing. Will you help us, please?
But first, sing your new hit single that is not a Christmas song.
Sit on this countertop and sing us a song, please.
And then after that, everyone's just like, "Oh, since you're here,
Yeah.
can you be the ghost of Christmas past to scare
I
Oscar
guess
the Grouch?"
Imogene Coca showed up, and we dressed her up. Or maybe she's really a ghost. Who knows?
It is a little. It starts to be unclear to me as well at a certain point of like what was really happening and what was like Oscar imagining. And it turns out it's all fictional. Like it's all made to scare Oscar. But there are times where it's really convincing to us, the audience, that we are actually flashing back or forward or sideways to some other sort of timeline of Oscar's life.
Yeah, particularly when Leslie Uggams devises an entire like Broadway quality play of Oscar as a baby during the daytime, I believe, when it is nighttime elsewhere. He looks through a milk carton.
No, it's the
and sees-
magic eggnog container.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah. And sees Leslie Uggams, I guess, trying to pretend like she's his mom?
I think she is playing his mom in this, and apparently Oscar doesn't have any problem flashing back to his childhood and going like, wait a minute, Leslie Uggams wasn't my mom.
Yeah. Because at the end of this extravagant song and dance number, which is also, it's kind of, that song is freaking insane because it's about Oscar being a cute baby, giving people huge stacks of cash out of his crib, which is very funny. And then growing up into a grouch. But at the end of it, he's like, my mom was a grouch and my whole entire family was a grouch. So I'm not really sure what you're trying to pull here.
Yeah, and so he decides to, I guess, ruin Christmas by playing
Yeah.
Yakety Yak on a guitar.
Oh, that part sucked. I hated that.
It's so weird. It's not a Christmas song. Sing I Hate
No.
Christmas again, Oscar. Come on. And that's when we get the weird song from Leslie Uggams,
Yeah.
where she's sitting up in a window looking down on Oscar and sings "Look at That Face" about Oscar. And it sounds like she has been pining over Oscar for 20 years and
Yeah,
needs to
she's in
marry
love
this
with
man.
him. She's trying to change him so that she can finally marry him.
But it doesn't really go anywhere. Like that doesn't
No.
come up again. It's just this
It's her
weird
own
thing
secret thing
we
that
find
she's
out.
living with. Yeah. If the other Sesame Street, if like the humans on Sesame Street found out, they wouldn't maybe be as excited to go along with her plan. Or maybe they'd be more excited. They'd be like, Leslie's going to propose to Oscar tonight. And this is how. I kind of tuned some of this special out. I got to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, no, it's there's some highlights of things that jump out at me, but they're usually immediately contradicted by worse, boring things. I
Yeah.
did I think it's when Imogen Coca, as the ghost of Christmas Present, is talking to him. Oscar says, "Well, who am I to argue with a ghost?"
And there's a part when they're singing that song and everybody's talking about what they love most about Christmas. And it goes to this child who says, my favorite thing about Christmas is licking the frosting off of cookies and then putting them back on the plate so that nobody knows. And he's sitting on his dad's lap and his dad gives him like the most horrified look.
Yeah.
It's so out of place, but it was so funny.
Yeah, everyone else is singing about more legitimate things they enjoy about Christmas, like time with family or presents. And he's like, I'm a little nasty boy.
Yeah. I think this is around when Ethel Merman shows up, and my note then was Ethel Merman is absolutely 100% a grouch and would love Oscar, would not have any part in a plan to try to defeat Oscar. She would be his staunch ally, I think.
Well, she's also wearing a scarf that looks like it's made out of grouch.
I think that's probably why I thought that, yeah. A green scarf. But I could see her like busting out of a trash can being like, I'm here. I'm Oscar's mom, actually.
Especially when she shows up and says, Imogene, you look like an idiot.
Yeah.
That's an Oscar thing to say. I have in my notes here, all caps, sing a Christmas song.
That's I wrote the fucking same exact thing. I wrote, why can't they just be singing Christmas songs instead of real, like, normal songs? It makes absolutely no sense.
It's like they wanted to make a variety show and then remembered, oh yeah, Christmas is coming up. I guess we can
Yeah.
do something with that.
Like, Leslie Uggams could have sung Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas out the window to Oscar. Because she's, like, wishing for him to enjoy the spirit of Christmas.
Yep.
And that would have been much less strange.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's just it's overall very weird. There is a very lengthy, if you want to go read like a weird summary about this special, there is a Tough Pigs article called A Blue Christmas, which was written, I don't know, like 2001.
Yeah, I couldn't, like, one of the link I found to it didn't work anymore, so I
Yeah.
stopped looking for
There's a
it.
20-year-old article on Tough Pigs, which is just
Yeah.
wild. So it has to be one of like the earliest things Tough Pigs ever did, I think.
Yeah.
But it's a very good, lengthy article that's basically having the conversation we're having of like, you remember that 1978 Christmas special? No, the other bad one. So I recommend giving that a read if you can.
And we didn't even mention the cat, which is such a weird subplot.
Yeah, and also the fact that they name it Tiny Tim because it has a broken leg.
And they name, she and Maria, Leslie Uggams and Maria say the name at exactly the same time in the most contrived, like, that part was when I was like, this is not written by the same people who write Sesame Street. Absolutely. They would never try to get away with this.
Yeah, it felt very, very forced, and just did, whoever wrote this one versus whoever the last one, I'm guessing different people. I didn't look it up, but
Yeah.
I'm guessing they're not written by the same person.
This person, this team, I think, are like people who worked on this production also made the Perry Como winter special, I think, or something like that. They worked on Perry Como specials as well, which did make me think, to be fair to this one, we've seen much worse variety shows featuring Muppets than this.
Oh, absolutely. And I looked up. It's Tom Dunsmore who wrote this special. Was a writer on Sesame Street, but the only other things... But the only other like TV special he wrote is the special that we wish we could see, Out to Lunch. So, you know,
Oh, shoot.
maybe the fact that he wrote that and this, maybe we don't want to see Out to Lunch. But the only thing sadder maybe than sad Big Bird freezing to death is that when they show the Ghost of Christmas Future stuff, you know, like in A Christmas Carol, Tiny Tim is shown to have died. You know what's sadder
Yeah.
than that? when Tiny Tim was a cat with a broken leg, and they imply that he died. They hand Oscar...
Is that sadder than a human child?
I guess maybe the way it's presented in this is very callous, and they like hand Oscar Tiny Tim's collar as basically like you did this with your lack of love for Christmas. You killed this small kitten.
Yeah, Oscar's not evicting people from their homes on Christmas Eve like Scrooge is. He's just kind of mean. A little bit mean.
Yeah, and I think the Oscar in Christmas Eve on Sesame Street deserves a Christmas caroling more than this Oscar does.
Yeah. He almost kills Big Bird.
Yeah, and he's much nastier to everyone, giving them gifts and stuff during the I Hate Christmas song. That's much more Scrooge-like. But yeah, this is like, the special is basically, it's like we want to cheer up Oscar, but we don't really care about how our actions affect him.
We hate him because he gave us lemonade. We're so mad.
But Leslie Uggams also secretly loves him. It's a very complicated relationship.
Yeah. You
can apparently get this soundtrack on CD. I don't know why you ever would, because it, isn't very good. But they did to try and, I guess, get the credit of having Michael Jackson on there. There is a bonus track called Your Imagination, which was a song that was created for the album. And it's a dance track. And they put the dialogue from Michael Jackson and Oscar the Grouch's scene over a dance track so that they could say Michael Jackson was on their soundtrack.
Oh my God. That's the grimiest thing I've heard of in any Muppet thing that we've ever covered. That is the dirtiest trick.
Yeah, it's not great.
I need to hear this.
Oh no, it's bad.
It's bad?
I'll send it to you right now.
Is allowed to run wild.
Is this real?
Yeah.
This isn't real.
I don't know if this video was produced by Sesame Street for any reason, but the song is real.
The things didn't sound like this in 1979.
No, this soundtrack didn't come out until 2012, Sam.
What?
Yeah. This CD and DVD of the special weren't released until like 2012. So this was an idea somebody had in 2012 to add Michael Jackson to a soundtrack for a thing that was like 30, 40 years old.
I'll post a link to it in the show notes.
Yeah. You listen to the first 10 seconds, you get the gist. You don't need to listen to the rest.
What a horrible legacy this special has.
Yeah, I'll never rewatch it. That's for sure.
Mm-mm.
If you have to pick one, Christmas Eve on Sesame Street is the one to watch.
Matt, I think that one thing I feel about this is that I was happy to watch something that was not Muppet Show. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's nice to have a little bit of a break. I think having this, especially between the seasons, it'll be interesting to sort of take a break, go back into season 3, see what's different and new, because it does start to run together a little bit when we're watching so many episodes of The Muppet Show back to back to back.
Yeah, it's nice to see other personalities too, and like other configurations of the Muppeteers we know doing other stuff. And I think, like, I forget how funny Sesame Street is and how great these characters are and how, like, they've been around so long that they're, like, more fleshed out even than a lot of the people we know on The Muppet Show.
Yeah, and it's the number one thing that it's the elephant in the room that we don't talk about on this podcast that often is Sesame Street, because they've been doing it since 1969.
Every day. Yes.
And so they are clearly, like, what the Muppets are up to. When we talk about that, they're up to Sesame Street all the time, forever.
All the time. Yeah.
And so we will be devoting a lot more time to talking about Sesame Street's first 10 years in an upcoming episode coming out in like February or something like that. But it was nice to sort of have a check-in with our old pals and see who's there now, what's different. And I think you're right. Like, seeing these characters and seeing Frank Oz and Jim Henson get to play as other characters was nice. And I don't know. I like seeing like more of Bert and Ernie and Cookie Monster and Grover being their like the best versions of themselves in A Christmas Eve on Sesame Street was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and Carol Spinney is just so freaking good.
It
I
blows
love
my
Oscar
mind
Grouch so much that it does, like, I don't know all the circumstances, but it is a little bit sad that he didn't get to. I mean, I do. He couldn't go to London. It's, like, sad that he doesn't get to participate more in the more adult projects because he's so funny.
Yeah, and it's something that I think we've talked about in the past on the one of our earliest episodes. When you watch I Am Big Bird or you read more about Carol Spinney, I think that's sort of how he felt in working on Sesame Street as well, is that he sort of felt like an outsider because he wasn't part of the main Muppet crew. He lived a very different kind of life from the other Muppet performers. And even like when he's on Sesame Street, he's the only person who is closed off from everybody else.
Yeah.
He is shoved inside of a giant bird and does not get to have FaceTime with any of his coworkers.
But, you know, he made something people will remember forever, and like two of the most recognizable characters in Western fiction. So
much so
that's good,
that they insist on both of these specials in having a bunch of scenes with Oscar and Big Bird interacting, even though that makes things way more complicated.
Yeah.
And I would recommend anyone who likes listening to other Muppet-type podcasts, Matt Vogel's podcast, Matt Vogel, now Kermit, now Big Bird, is called Below the Frame, where he interviews people from the Muppet world. This last week, when we're recording this, was the anniversary of Carol Spinney's death a couple years ago. And so on that day, he released a new episode where he was talking with Debbie Spinney, Carol Spinney's wife. And there's a lot of really, really nice stories in that episode as well about Carol Spinney and just about their life together and about his life as Big Bird, and talking a lot about a lot of Carol Spinney stories that don't necessarily fit into something like I Am Big Bird. So recommend listening to that. But now it's time for us to move on and discuss our Muppet of the Week. This week's Muppet of the Week is Barkley, the orange and white sheepdog that doesn't talk like other Muppet dogs do. Barkley debuted in May of 1978, so not that long before these specials aired, but debuts as a different character, kind of. He's a stray dog with a collar who wanders onto Sesame Street, but his collar just has a W on it and nothing else, like it's worn off. And so they start to figure out, they try to figure out what his name might be, and they end up calling him Woof Woof, which, not the most creative dog name.
Not a great name.
But later on, in November of 1978, so getting really close to when the special aired, the gang decides to name the dog, officially, and there's two teams on Sesame Street. One wants to name him Barkley, and one wants to name him Woof Woof.
So keep the name Woof Woof.
Yes, Bob is Team Woof Woof. He leads the team of Woof Woof supporters. And Gordon is Team Barkley.
Mm-hmm. Barkley's clearly a much, much better name.
I could see Bob being Team Woof Woof, though. He seems like a... Yeah. Team, I don't know. For some reason, that just makes sense to me.
He's a little bit white bread.
Yeah.
You know?
And obviously, Team Gordon won, and Barkley became his official name from then on. So he only had his name of Barkley for a week before we see him in this special.
That's very strange.
And it turns out that Barkley is sort of just a stray dog that doesn't really belong to anybody on Sesame Street going forward, because at one point in season 17, they show Elmo arguing with another monster, one of his friends, about Barkley's name. She's insisting that his name is Dudley, and Elmo's like, no, this is Barkley. And it turns out she lives on a different street. She doesn't live on Sesame Street.
Oh.
And when Barkley hangs out on their street, they all decide to name him Dudley.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. And so they fight about this for a while. So they call over Luis for his advice, who tells them that you're both right, because wherever Barkley is, that's his name. But since they're on Sesame Street now, his name is Barkley.
All right.
So
Can't beat
technically,
that logic.
Barkley is only his name on Sesame Street, but he could also be Dudley or possibly Woof Woof.
Okay. So, but he assumedly has a home somewhere that he goes back to every night, I would guess.
Yeah, and a name that starts with W, according to his original collar. And it's definitely not Woof Woof, because the collar, the tag they show, is a very big tag, and the W takes up a quarter of it. So it's Walt or something is probably his name.
Sure. Wes could be.
Yeah. It's a very short W name, is what Barkley's original name should be. But after season 32 of Sesame Street, which was in 2001, Barkley sort of ceased to be a regular character and has only made a few appearances since then. I think he's on 4 or 5 episodes of Sesame Street between 2001, and 2012 is the last time we have seen Barkley.
Whoa.
Yeah, in puppet form. He's appeared as like a little cartoon a couple times, but the actual puppet has not appeared on Sesame Street since 2012. And
That's
apparently
sad.
this is partially due to his puppet is like very badly in need of refurbishment.
Uh-huh.
And I guess maybe they just don't want to spring for a...
But HBO wants to shell out some dough.
Guess
Come
not. Guess they don't want to
Huh.
bring out Barkley again.
I feel like Big Bird's losing all his friends. You don't see Mr. Snuffy anymore. You don't see Barkley anymore.
You still do see Snuffy. I'm not sure how regularly Snuffy shows up. Like a lot of full-body Muppets, Barkley has been performed by a few different people throughout the years. What's more notable is that they are not usually puppeteers. They are coming from another line of work because of the way that Barkley has to be performed. Because Barkley, unlike Snuffy, is two people standing up, one in the front, one in the back. Barkley is just a human man on all fours with
Galloping
around on hand stilts.
Oh.
Like he's holding on to like these little hand stilts that make him a little bit taller than just a man on all fours. There's a very good photo of one of the early Barkley performers testing out part of the suit because there's a scene, I think it's in Big Bird in China maybe, where Big Bird and Barkley have to walk across these stones across a pond. And it's very precarious because they can barely see in these things. There's a picture of the performer who I think at this point was either Toby Tosin or Brian Meal, dressed in just the head of Barkley and the feet of Barkley, showing you how he would get across this thing.
Oh, that's troubling.
Yeah, it's just, you see a Barkley head on a man who's clearly just wearing a t-shirt and jeans. But on his hands, he is holding on to a couple of hand stilts with little paws at the bottom of those. And apparently there's triggers on those hand stilts that work the mouth. So that's how Barkley would be talking.
Okay.
But as I mentioned, Toby Tosin was the first performer of Barkley. He was a former NCAA men's gymnast champion and a dancer, and apparently just a personal friend of the Henson family. He just knew Jim Henson, and Jim was like, hey, you want to come be a dog for a while? And apparently, according to Toby Tosin, he claimed that the full-body character was initially conceived to be an ape. They were going to have like a really acrobatic ape walking around, but was ultimately revised to be a large furry dog.
That seems like a good decision.
Yeah, I think it would have been weirder if they had a giant like gorilla like hanging out on Sesame Street. It's like that seems much scarier. Brian Meal took over after Toby Tosin left because he signed up to play like Barkley for just half a season, pretty much. Like he was in part of season 9 and then a little bit of season 10, but he was out after that. Brian Meal, who was a mime, and actually the first performer for Elmo before Elmo really had his voice or personality, worked on The Muppet Show and on The Dark Crystal, but would go on to perform Barkley from 1979 through 1984, and then apparently also a one-off in 1988 for some reason. But in 1984, Fred Garbo took over Barkley's performing, and Fred Garbo was a clown, a mime, a juggler, again, not necessarily a puppeteer first, but performed Barkley from 1984 through 1993. And then the most recent performer that I could find for Barkley was Bruce Connolly, who is an actor and a mime. Apparently being a mime is important to being Barkley if you want to be a convincing dog. But he took over in 1993, and it says on Muppet Wiki until present. But again, after 2001, Barkley made very few appearances, and so I don't know that Bruce Connolly like stuck around for one random episode of Sesame Street in 2012 or not, or if he was doing other things. But yes, that is the information I could find at the moment. But yeah, I think for me, much like Beaker, Barkley is one of my favorite puppets, but not necessarily one of my favorite characters.
I watched Big Bird in Japan often as a child, and I think Big Bird in China, both. So I remember him very distinctly.
Yeah, he does end up traveling with Big Bird a lot in later things.
Yeah, I associate him very strongly as Big Bird's sidekick. And I think he showed up in the era that I probably was catching Sesame Street on TV frequently. But no, there's not much to him, really. I love the sketches Jim did of his puppet design. I assume that Jim did those. Did you see those on the Muppet Wiki?
Oh, yes, I am looking at those now. Yeah, I don't know if that's a Jim sketch. It looks like a Jim sketch for sure.
Yeah.
But Muppet Wiki says that Barkley was designed by Michael K. Frith and built by Susan Moore. But I know Jim was also involved in the creation of Barkley, because I know that it seems like the Children's Television Workshop set Jim Henson and Michael Frith like a mission of, we need a new character to be new and exciting for this new season of Sesame Street. Go.
And Jim was like, what if it was a dog? And he just drew a dog.
I mean, kinda.
He kind of drew a dog.
Yeah. And to be fair, like, that drawing looks like Muppy, looks like Rufus, looks like all the other just shaggy sheepdog Muppets we have seen. The only difference is that they decided to put a whole human in this one.
So I don't love Barkley. He's not much. He looks good, but he also kind of does look like a guy on four legs walking around a little bit. Looks like a dude in a Muppet or in a dog costume. A little too much for my taste. I'm curious to know what your score of him would be first, actually.
I think my score is a little higher than I think yours is going to be, because I really like his design. And he has what I've heard a lot of puppet builders talk about as an important detail, is this like this constant motion to him, because he is so furry and fluffy that even when he stops moving, you get to see his fur moving, and there's a lot going on in his texture. And so he looks not necessarily convincing as a dog, because you're right, he does look like a man on all fours hopping around. But the movements are very good, and like it's a different kind of Muppet than we normally get to see, and has a different range of motion than like a Thog or a Timmy Monster or somebody like that. So I think that stuff sort of pushes him up higher because he has a more utilization to him than other Muppets. So I would give him a solid 45.
Wow, that's not bad.
Yeah.
I can't care as much about the puppetry of Barkley. I don't think. I want to, but he don't impress me much, as that person who sang that song said.
Shania Twain.
Yeah.
So
Thanks,
what?
Shania.
You're Barkley the dog. That don't impress me much.
So I'm going to give him a 2.5.
All right. I think he'd be fine with that.
He is a dog. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
I'll give him a treat. I can give him a 1 star and give him a treat, and he'd think I was the best guy in the world.
So on top of, I guess I was going to say on top of 2 great Christmas specials this week. That's not true at all. On top of 1 great Christmas special and another Christmas special that we watched this week, did you watch or enjoy any non-Muppet things this week, Sam?
We went to see Ghostbusters Afterlife last night.
How was that?
Did you see it?
No.
It was much better than I was expecting it to be. I had pretty, not low expectations, but just this is going to be whatever. It was very cute. It was very, it felt more like the Goonies or something than Ghostbusters to me, which is an interesting choice. It's not funny in the same way that Ghostbusters is, and it doesn't really try to be funny in the same way, I don't think, that Ghostbusters is. But it has some nice moments. They use the soundtrack from the old movie, which I think is fun, like the incidental music, which is a nice touch. Yeah, and it's there's some really sweet moments in it. It was enjoyable.
Does it lean on nostalgia too much?
If you didn't see the movie Ghostbusters, you're gonna not understand a single moment of this movie, which seems very bad to me. This should be a way maybe to introduce new people to Ghostbusters, but they don't even have a scene where they explain what the Ghostbusters were. Basically, there's no you can't latch onto anything here and get into the old movie from there. You'd just be like, what the fuck is happening?
And there is a character named Podcast, correct?
I was going to talk about Podcast in a moment. I will tell you about Podcast momentarily. I think it leaned too heavily on it in some aspects. The Stay Puft Marshmallow little guys show up. That to me seemed very unnecessary, because the way that the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man shows up is so specific in the old one,
right,
that it doesn't make sense that all these years later, Gozer would be like, hey, remember when I was the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man?
Well, especially presenting that to somebody else, because in the initial one it is Ray who just they try to think of nothing because Gozer takes the form of what you're imagining, and Ray can't help but think of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in that moment.
Yeah.
And so that's why he takes that form. So you would imagine Gozer would take the form of something else later on. And so the fact that I know, I've seen the clip, that these Marshmallow Men show up to torment Paul Rudd, who was not there in the original Ghostbusters, is very strange.
No, he's not. There's not a revelation or something that he was a baby watching the Ghostbusters do this in the 80s or something. Which would have been cool, maybe. But yeah, they there's a bunch of scenes too where they're like, oh yeah, I've heard the ghost stories about Manhattan in the 80s. But also there's scenes where they're like, and a giant marshmallow man attacked the town. And there's never they try to play it both ways so much, like that thing where, oh, the Ghostbusters weren't real, but also explicitly saying that a giant marshmallow man did attack the city.
Right, like you can't really
those two things together.
Put that toothpaste back in the tube of ghosts exist. They attacked New York. The Statue of Liberty walked around. There's a lot that happened in the past that for some reason people seem to have forgotten.
Yeah. But weirdly enough, spoiler alert, the old Ghostbusters do show up. That part felt the least fan servicey to me because they made it make sense. Like it revolves around Egon's family, and they do reach out to the Ghostbusters in a pretty logical way, and it's like a nice kind of catharsis when they show up. But it's like Gozer's not even selecting a form when the Stay Puft Marshmallow Men show up. It just happens for no reason, basically. And Muncher sucks.
I've heard
the
that
blue guy.
Yeah, Muncher is supposed to be like the new Slimer, and everyone's basically just saying, why didn't they just use Slimer?
They should have just brought back Slimer. But I guess Slimer's probably locked up in the Ghostbusters house still.
I mean, but yeah, he was locked up in the first movie, and then he got out in the second movie, so...
That's true. They should have just used Slimer, or they should have used a puppet. There's some practical effects which look good, but I don't know. I enjoyed watching it. It definitely was a movie that was not insulting or anything like that. Not that the Lady Ghostbuster movie was insulting or anything like that. I like that one just fine too. That one was funnier than this one for sure. But I don't know. It was just a movie. I would recommend it if you like Ghostbusters because there's interesting things. But don't go into it thinking that you're gonna be cracking your shit up. If you like Ghostbusters, you are.
Well, speaking of cashing in nostalgia and it maybe going a little bit more sour of a direction, we started off this week, very high note. We watched the first Home Alone movie.
Oh, no.
Yep. You see where this is going. And, Home Alone's just one of my favorite movies. I watch it pretty much every single year around the Christmas time.
Great Christmas movie.
Yeah. Home Alone 2, not as good as everyone remembers, I think. That's one where you look back on it more fondly than it actually is.
Still has got some fun moments.
Absolutely. I watched Home Alone 3 as a kid. I remember liking it as a kid, but knowing this isn't as good as those other two.
Forgot that one even existed.
Yeah, it's got French Stewart in it, I believe. And there's some people who put a microchip in a race car or an RC car, and a kid.
Oh yeah, they're like international spies or something. The bad guys
the world gets much bigger in Home Alone 3.
They would just shoot that child.
Yes, absolutely. I know there is a Home Alone 4. I have not seen that one. I do not care to. But recently, they released Home Sweet Home Alone on Disney+. I have heard nothing but negative things about this film. And for some reason, the other day, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put it on. See if whatever everyone is saying about it is true. The answer is yes. I did not make it very far, Sam. I have to admit.
You didn't finish it?
No.
Oh. One thing I heard about it was that they made the bad guys, you feel for them.
The movie opens with the bad guys, who are not bad guys. They are a mother and father who are down on their luck, and they are going to have to sell their house because, they feel like something happened. I don't know if they allude to why they're running low on money, but they have to move and they have to sell their house, and they're trying to hide it from their children so that their children don't know.
That happens in Ghostbusters too.
Weird, but in this one, we start off with that story, so we get to know these people, and then we meet the little kid who's played by the one kid from Jojo Rabbit, who's delightful in that. But in this, he's a little obnoxious shit, whose main source of conflict with his mom is that because he's being a little shit, says, you know what, you can't get McDonald's on the way home like I said you could. And
Are you serious? That's what it is?
Yep, that's what makes him hate his family, is that he doesn't
God.
get McDonald's on the way home. And he's just awful. Like, he talks shit about everybody. He's a little jerk. And we are led to believe that he steals something from the burglars first.
What?
Like, there's this old rare doll that the people have, that it's implied that he steals this doll from them. And that's what they're trying to get back, is because they find out this doll is worth a lot of money. And they're like, shit, we could sell this doll and not have to move or like lose our house. And that's the movie. So it's like if Kevin like went to the Wet Bandits house and like took a bunch of stuff, and the Wet Bandits are like, we gotta get our shit back. That's what it's like.
One thing that made me not want to watch is I don't think I want to watch Ellie Kemper get like a iron to the face, you know?
Yeah. Well, especially once they make them nice people who are just trying to do best for their family.
Yeah. You can see some grimy dudes get hit in the face by bowling balls and like.
Well, these two dudes who clearly want to murder children. Like these two dudes will kill Kevin if they get a hold of him.
I don't want to see someone's mom get a tarantula biting her.
Yeah. So I didn't. I did not watch the whole thing. Maybe it gets better. It was not for me. I will say that much.
Interesting.
Definitely not for me. And I don't really know who it's for, and it doesn't feel like they watched Home Alone before they wrote it. That does it for our Christmas special week here, Sam. We are going to be stepping back into our chronological order next time. But first, we're going to take a week off.
Yeah, we need some rest, for God's sake.
Yeah, we got family stuff to do. We talked about that at the beginning of the episode, but it's the holidays. We're going to take a week off. And so, we will be back in the new year, the first week of the new year, with a brand new season of The Muppet Show. We'll be getting our first appearance of Beauregard, the janitor, and the last appearance of a talk spot.
We only had like 2 in this whole season, it seems like.
Yeah,
right?
they were already cutting back, but we get to see the very last one they made in the first batch of episodes, which will include guests Helen Reddy, Roy Clark, and Gene Stapleton.
3 names I know, but I have no idea who any of those people are.
I know Roy Clark is a country singer man, and Gene Stapleton is the wife from All in the Family. But on top of those 3 episodes, we will also be watching a short clip from the Emmy Awards, where The Muppet Show, spoiler alert, wins.
Ooh.
And an appearance by Big Bird in a special called NBC Salutes the 25th Anniversary of the Wonderful World of Disney.
Oh, interesting.
Which only features a little bit of Big Bird, but seems to be hosted by a younger Ron Howard, and seems very strange and very late 70s Disney. So I might try and watch the whole thing because it seems very weird and I'm curious, but I don't know if I have a spare 2 hours to check that out. And again, yes, that episode will not be coming out until the first week of January. So until then, if you're celebrating the holidays, enjoy, relax, re-listen to our old episodes 1,000 times to get those numbers going up.
Yeah.
Make it your new Christmas tradition. Just put Kermitment on in the background.
And if you're not celebrating the holidays, also enjoy and relax.
Yeah.
Please, everybody just relax.
Yeah, everyone relax.
Calm down.
And before we go, we need to thank our friend Tuna for creating the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. You can follow this podcast on Twitter at KermitmentPod, where you can find the playlist for all the things that we watch in each episode, or we just tell you, it's on Disney Plus. Go check it out. And we'll also, by the time this podcast episode is out, we might be announcing a cool thing that you'll be able to give us money for and get a physical item in the mail.
AKA merch.
What? But yes, if you want to reach out to us, you can email us at mail@kermitment.com, and you can follow me on the internet at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.